Greetings, friends. I'm Brian Frederick-Gray here with Chris Dorsey, President and CEO of DHM, and we are excited to welcome you to the inaugural edition of the Disciples Advocate Digest. Chris, we've got four things on our rundown today that we're going to walk through, and the first one is introducing Disciples Advocate and this brand new Disciples Advocate Digest. Second thing that we'll do is some reflections from the March, Minnesota event. Third piece is going to be the call to the people of faith to defend democracy and human dignity by rejecting the SAVE Act, which is something being considered by Congress right now. And the fourth one is going to be an invitation from our partners about the 2026 National Faith and Climate Forum. And so, as we're getting started right here off the bat, Chris, folks might be hearing about Disciples Advocate for the very first time with this video. What are the kinds of things that we would like them to know about Disciples Advocate?
We created Disciples Advocate as a distribution channel and a connection space that empowers disciples to work for greater justice and mercy. In doing this, we're amplifying the work of scholars, activists, organizers, church members, people who are out there doing the work of justice and helping them to deepen their connections and elevate opportunities to serve God in new and exciting ways.
Amen. And so, folks, if you are hearing about Disciples Advocate for the first time, or if you've heard about it before and didn't know what to do about it, disciplesadvocate.org is where we want to send you. Second
Um,
thing in the rundown, Chris.
Yeah, so Brian, last month or earlier this month actually, we had you to go to Minnesota. We were aware of all the things that were happening there. Obviously, there's been a lot of challenges to people in the Minnesota and Minneapolis area in particular, with immigration issues and enforcing actions that some would deem as inappropriate. But we were concerned that we needed to have a presence there. We needed to learn what our partners, our disciples on the ground are doing there. And so we asked you to go there. So I want to hear about what you saw there, what you did, what was that like for you, and what can you help us to understand from it?
So it started with a day of training first that was on Thursday, all day together. Hundreds of clergy gathered to be able to hear what was happening. Organizers described how they had been learning from other cities where ICE had been, and that they had been looking back into history to find what are ways that folks have responded in this kind of way. So they weren't just looking at what had been going on in Charlotte and in Chicago and in Los Angeles, but they also were looking at what were the ways that the Black Panthers were organized back in the day to be able to bring mutual aid and neighborhood support to folks who otherwise weren't going to be able to get those opportunities. And then it was a day of service and action that happened on Friday that culminated in that march that had 50,000 of us out in the streets on what was minus 30-degree wind chill, the coldest I have ever been in my entire life.
What's happening there in Minnesota or Minneapolis is specifically ordinary people. It's just regular people. Say a little bit of something about that.
That's right. It was one of the most powerful things that I heard one of the trainers say, and that I got the opportunity to experience and feel firsthand, was that they used that exact language. These are ordinary people doing ordinary things in the most extraordinary of situations. So if you knew that, oh my gosh, my neighbor right now is scared to leave their house, it's actually literally unsafe because of things that are happening in our streets right now for them to be able to go outside, so they can't get groceries, they can't get food. They can't go to work to make the money that they need to pay for their rent. If that was the situation for your neighbor, the most natural response would be, I want to bring my neighbor some groceries. I want to make sure my neighbor has food to eat. I want to be able to pitch into a rental or mortgage assistance program that's going to help people stay in their homes.
They're not just doing the advocacy and justice work, they're actually doing the service. When I was hungry, you fed me.
Yes,
They're
that's it.
literally doing the work of serving neighbors. Brian, I know there's a lot more to come in this in learning about this and the unfolding stories there. What can people do to learn more? Give us a couple of resources that we can share with people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The A number one resource that I have been promoting to people and asking them to check out came from Dr. Leah Shade, who wrote this wonderful blog post article on Patheos called Clergy Prepare for ICE. Guidance from Minnesota Pastors. And it is both tangible, practical advice for ways that you can get connected in your community and things that you can do to prepare. And it's also this embodied theology. And if you want to dive even deeper from there, at DHM, we've also put together a resource called Shared Witness and Wisdom from March, Minnesota, and it is filled with practical guidance, with resource from experts on the ground that is describing the work that's happening there in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Topic three has to do with another priority of Disciples Advocate, and that is voter information and voter registration, and particularly the Reject the Save Act campaign. Tell us a little bit about that.
It is one of those Orwellian kind of acronyms that sounds like it is doing one thing and then sort of does exactly the opposite. So SAVE stands for Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. But what it does is it requires documentary proof of citizenship. So that's either a passport or your birth certificate. In almost every state in the union, your government issued photo ID in that state doesn't qualify. So that every time somebody registers or anytime you update your voter registration, you would need that passport or that birth certificate. And so even though it's being framed as this election integrity measure, what the legislation actually does is creates all of these harmful barriers and boundaries to voting for millions of eligible Americans.
Right, Brian, just to be clear, this isn't the first time we've seen this. We
That's right.
know from history that
That's
this
right.
kind of activity to actually suppress votes or take away people's rights to votes or disenfranchise people is a part of the history of this country. In
Yes.
fact, as African Americans were even granted the right to vote,
Yes.
the next thing that started to happen was to put in place these onerous obstacles, such as poll taxes, such as voter exams that were almost difficult to pass. And so
Yep.
we're almost seeing like the resurgence
Yes.
of those patterns of voter disenfranchisement. And it really is something that we need to speak against and we need to work against. So how can people get involved or what can they do?
Yeah, and so our partners at the Disciples Center for Public Witness have put together an action alert, which is a really easy letter that folks can sign on to. What I'd ask you to do is to take that additional step as well, to take the language that's in that letter and be able to use that to reach out directly to your elected representatives. We've been starting to get reports as of late last night and into this morning that it looks like right now this act might be stalled out in the Senate or might be slowing down, but that it continues to be a priority of the administration, which means that extra pressure is going to be put on our elected representatives to try to pass something like this, which makes it even more important in this moment for us to be reaching out to our elected representatives.
So we got one more topic to cover. I know we're running short on time, but our last one is also near and dear to our hearts because it connects a lot with a key ministry that we have, and that's Green Chalice that addresses climate change. It is the National Faith and Climate Forum. Tell us a little bit about what that is and how can people get involved.
So this is our partners at Eco America and Blessed Tomorrow. They are inviting you to participate in the 2026 National Faith and Climate Forum that is this day-long online training and is one of the largest in the nation and super diverse for the intersection of faith and climate. What I really want you to hear, though, is that you can attend both from the comfort of your own home or office, or there are these in-person host locations that will be offering watch parties, and churches still have the opportunity to sign up as one of those watch party locations.
Shout out to Carol Devine and Scott Harden-Yeri, who support Green Chalice as directors of those programs. But we're excited about this. We're excited about the opportunity to partner. We're excited about getting the new word out about these issues that we've talked about here on the Digest. And there's so much more to come. So stay tuned, stay involved, act, speak, do all those things that we as disciples have come to do in order to promote greater justice and mercy in the world. Anything else, Brian?
We hope that folks will share this resource with other people. So share it with your congregation, share it in your region, post it on social media. We'd love to continue this conversation and have it expand so that we can amplify the kinds of things that you are looking for to be able to share more about the ways that we can be involved in this work of justice, advocacy, and bringing more mercy to the world.
Great. See you all next week.
Thanks, everybody.